Hello, it's February 5th. It's Nick's forecast, and just want to talk to you some real estate stuff today as usual. Talk about some multifamily stuff, buildings, and just some more stuff that I've just come off the top of my head. Anyways, yeah, I was just reading some stuff on MH News. You guys, multifamily news service, you guys should get it. It's a good thing to get, and they had some different analysis of the market for this year for real estate for especially for apartment buildings, multifamily, pretty good. It jumped up a couple points last year. We'll probably do it again. Even with the rate going up, you got a lot of big players, a lot of hedge funds, advisory groups, investors, and just investors, period, are buying more and more of them. They're building more, and certainly, especially in the Southwest, in the Southeast, Midwest, they're building a lot more apartment buildings. More and more people are moving. Even in Texas, they had a lot of the abundant stuff. They've left stuff. A lot of that's already been bought out. So there's some good deals out there, though. There's a lot of people saying, if you look at LoopNet right now in different parts of the U.S., there's some pretty good deals. Investor, first-time investor, small investor, you got your mortgage broker line. Hopefully you're doing great. Also, too, another thing you guys start looking at is probably pretty high. Southeast, Midwest, Southwest areas would be pretty good. The East and West Coast, now you're going to have a chance to get some deals. Vary from state to state. You usually there's a wait in Missouri. They changed one waiting period over the third year. If they haven't paid their taxes, caught up, there's only a 90-day year. So the first 2 years is waiting period. You have to check each state, and each county is different in how they handle that. So you need to check that out. Make sure you got your LLC up and become that way. That's a good way to do it, or you just buy it for yourself that way. With just your name, but getting an LLC good, especially if you got commercial, even in residentials too, because basically pick those up. It's all cash. I was always telling a story I told when I first started this about infomercials in the 90s with these two guys, and they were talking about tax. I thought they were full of crap until we bought some tax sale properties, and basically now they've all gone way up, way up. 4 years ago since some of them, and they've gone way up in price because things just doubled and tripled. We're talking 100x, 150x times money. So there's some good deals out there to do it. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't, but it's a good thing to do. Before right now, multifamilies is a good thing. Even if you have to buy a fourplex, even a duplex, at least you get something. But that means a little less fallout in case it goes down to 90% of basic occupancy. Your goal is to always have 90% occupancy or more. 90% occupancy is what you're looking for. But like I'm saying before, it just depends. Sorry, just trying to get comfortable here. Anyways, so these are to look at. And getting your financing lined up is important because most of the time you're going to put 25% or more. Now, remember, if you get a fourplex, triplex, or duplex, you can get residential financing. So if you can finance it, put some money down as a non-owner, that's what you want to do. But the cool part about residential is you can buy it as a property. So I would go for the fourplex first, but there's always deals out. The East and West Coast is different because the real estate prices are so high, but in different areas, if East and West Coast, if you're out in the countryside more, if you're willing to go out a little bit and go 50, 60, 70 miles from your house, 40 miles, 30 miles, then you can do it. It's a drivable range, and that's something to look at. The further you go out, the better chance you're going to get a deal. And so that's what you're going to do, especially on your first time out. So look at apartment buildings, 5 unit plus, that's an apartment. when they finance, you got the 25% or more to put down. You might be able to get away at 20%. Well, right now I've got some funders right now that you can actually get away with it with more short-term stated. You can go up to 75% LTV. Right now, stated it's a non-owner occupied. The rate's still pretty good in the high fours, low fives. And you know, 15%, 25%, but you can still work it. And then I've got another lender with a no doc that may go to 80, 85%. And so you need to about 5 million. So get a hold of me if you need to. Go to nickforecast.com and you can get a hold of me there, or go to Facebook at nickforecast. I get you hooked because I got some financiers. It's some pretty cool. Cool thing is, like the West Coast, some parts of the East Coast, they've got some pretty cool prime lenders, or non-prime, what I call it. They are doing some foreclosure bailouts too right now, because you can get scores, you can get financing down to 100. That means you can do seller carrybacks. So even with you do buy a multifamily, you got to want to take 25%. You may have to put 10% down, but if you 10% down, seller takes 25, and you get the bank to do 65%. Let's just say 65 to do 60%. That's a good way to go, and you hold on to it. Try to put it on a 5-year note if you can. And it varies from lender to lender, especially because that's a subprime loan or non-prime, the new term. But it's pretty cool because the rates are still pretty competitive. Because right now everybody's looking at rate about it, but I want to see the rates go up a few points. It'll cool markets down a lot, and there'll be a lot more inventory. So that means more buyers can buy, and there'll be more deals out there, so you can work it. Because right now everyone's been getting no rates are so low, which is still cool, and they're still low, but they're going to start kicking them up, and they need to do it. So it'll move things out more. So the multifamily stuff, the percentage points were pretty good last year. A couple points, looking at the same this year, going up. But there's a lot of big players do a multifamily, more than there's been in a while, because there's so much cash swirling around on Wall Street that needs somewhere. And real estate is still one of the safest places you can get. It's just the way it is. Whatever attached to the ground is still going to be safe, because people are going to still need to rent, and so that's just kind of the way it goes. Especially with you have monsters that are buying up a lot of housing stuff, like Zillow. You know, they lost their shorts on the on when and buy them in bulk and blah blah blah. These big hedge funds came out of nowhere, equity groups, advisory groups, and just bought everything they've got. So I mean, it helps them out, even though they'll take a look. But I mean, it's still, they were trying it, but on paper it looked good. In reality, it was different. Shifts in the markets can really screw you. So, but anyways, but still, there's a lot of big buyers out there that got a lot of cash, and they can do it sized out because they're doing anyways. So that's what it gets down to. So that's another thing too. When you guys buy the rental properties, you got to look for ways you guys can systematize multifamilies, and if depending on your area, and if you do the management yourself, great. Incorporate another management company for yourself, just to do it for tax purposes. If you have another company doing it, and you have your stuff in an LLC or Chapter S corp, I'd put it in an LLC. Advantages in a Chapter S corp, but that's up to your tax attorney or your tax accountant. You need to talk to them to clarify that, what your position is, you tax wise, your tax attorney or tax accountant. Anyways, or your real estate attorney. But anyways, so these are just things to look at. You might get to a point where you have enough income coming in. You might have your own company doing it, and then you may subcontract it out to manage a company A, or wherever you're from, where you live, and you may have them do it, and all the money these dump it into that corporation and keep it separate. And you have contracts, people all the time, and it's a good way to go. I know a guy in Seattle that has a company. I know a couple that all they do is manage apartment buildings. They do commercial buildings too, but mostly apartment buildings. And I've known them for a long time. What'll happen is, a lot of time management company, and they'll go ahead and they'll subtract it out to them. the owner of the management company subcontract it to another management company, and they just do it for tax reasons or whatever. And so that way to go. If you don't want to do it yourself, just another to put it together. And it's sometimes it's better for the books. But like talk to your tax attorney or your tax accountant for that information. That's going to make sure you're score best. So, and also to talk to a real estate attorney if you need to. If doing your deals. But anyways, so even if you have a real estate agent that's pretty good, helped you guys out, and whatever, they may do the commercial and residential. They do some do that. Some will tell you they may have people in their office that do it. Whatever, you just go ahead and just suck it up. And a lot of things too. Don't get if you're buying the property. So don't get too the commission. The real estate agent's going to earn their commission. I'm all for the real estate agent getting their commission because they earned it. And they got to go through a lot of stuff behind the scene. And they got to deal with the mortgage brokers and the underwriters sometimes, dates and times on the person, make sure inspections and appraisals are done and any other additional inspections besides the structural that need to get scored away or work order stuff or whatever. And they have to be there for all that. So it can be time consuming. Sometimes they'll have their assistants out doing it. If they have real estate agents don't have assistants. A lot of them do it themselves. I mean, I know real estate that have no assistants to do 150 deals a year. And that blows away. That puts them in the top 1% in the United States. You got to remember a lot of real estate agents, mortgage brokers don't do as many deals as they let on. A lot of them are full of it. So, you might have just a real estate agent might be doing 50, 60, 70 deals a year, and that's considered really good. I know one guy in Seattle who's semi in the 70s, makes out 40 deals a year. He's still making $1 million plus easy, and he's semi-retired. But when he was doing it, he was making a couple million a year. And he was a guy that showed me. And so there's people out there doing it. And like I said, it's just, you got to have a real estate agent's got to be knowledgeable about what's going on. And your mortgage broker's got to be knowledgeable too. Banks, I keep saying stay away from banks and credit unions is because suck. Their appraisers don't know what the hell they're doing. Usually when you go with a mortgage broker, when they go to their funded, generally the appraisers are good. See, in a hot market, appraisal thing kind of gets thrown out the door because a lot of people make cash, but there's still a lot of people that finance. So some things just they kind of go with it. And the underwriters just let it go. After 2000, for a few years up to about 2013, usually anywhere from 3, 4, 5 underwriter signatures to basically get a deal approved. Now it's usually one or usually two sign off. So you have the underwriter, and then you'll have whatever writer is going to write it off. I'll have to get more into detail about the underwriters because they can be a real pain in the ass. And this is what they don't tell you for buyers out there, or even listings. I mean, not listings, but listers. People are selling their homes. Is that the wholesaler that's working for the more even small banks and credit unions, because they go to the second market to get their money. They don't portfolio, and that's another bunch of subjects I'll get into one of these times, so you guys have a clear understanding. A lot of times don't talk about any of this stuff, but the wholesaler, basically the mortgage broker or the small bank, not the big bank, but the small bank, and the credit union, if they're a wholesaler on the back end that's talking to the underwriter to get stuff done. And sometimes the wholesaler has to jump through a zillion hoops to go ahead and get you the loan because there's always problems. And they mortgage broker. The big thing to get your deal done is if a mortgage broker have a list of stuff for you to get. A full doc is pretty easy. It's one of the stated no doc hassle, but they're still going to have a list of stuff for you to have just in case. So you need to have your ducks, have your W-2s put away for 2 years, have your tax returns for 2 years, 3 years, your business tax returns if you need them. The commercial's a lot different when you're doing it stuff, especially on a business thing. You might have to have profit and loss statements and all this other stuff. But when you're doing residential, you need to do that. If you're doing stated no docs, on commercial, it's not as much. Same thing if you're doing it for residential. So there's a lot of variance in loans, but the thing is, you want to get all your stuff together, all the packages together for your mortgage broker. And if your mortgage broker doesn't give you a list of item sheet of something from the mortgage broker, so telling you that they're not that scored away, because they should have that stuff already planned out. Every time I met anybody as a real estate agent or mortgage broker, I always had a list of stuff for them, especially as a mortgage broker, that they all needed. So to make sure that they're good to go, so I could have everything, because I didn't like submitting crap and piecemeal loans. I didn't do that. I always had everything submitted. There's just one funder, Covenants. They're still in existence in Spokane, Washington, and you had to have everything sent in. The thing is, the mortgage broker liked them because it's, one day I'll have to get more detail about rebates, but they're still around as far as I know. They are, and they basically, you got to submit everything to them, and you got to have all your stuff, your title and your purchase agreements and all the other addendums and basically everything. And basically, you got to submit everything in your package. Submit a lot of loans from them because of the rate on the back end to me was pretty high. So that's why I always did it. So and a lot of times, now this is a vanilla lender for residential. That's all they do. So a lot of times you're going to need to get all that stuff in a way. So your mortgage broker, if you're going to use one, the bankers usually aren't as scored away. Sometimes they are. It's the loan officers, the banks. Most of the time they don't know what they're doing anyways. Because most loan officers are banks, besides residential loans, are doing commercial loans and all that. And they're doing loans too. A lot of them are doing multifaceted stuff. Kind of like, but anyways, I just don't do residential stuff unless it's high end, but I only do non-owner occupied stuff. So that's a little bit different. So anyways, it's kind of a different deal as far as that goes. And so why that you got to have your stuff scored away. In a real estate agent, a list of stuff that you need anyways to make sure you're good. A lot of times, like, I was dealing with the same individuals, and a lot of times every deal I had might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sides to one deal. So everything's scored away because the deals can get real complicated, because I was listing this person's house and working with this buyer, and listing that house, and that buyer had to get scored away on that one and make sure everybody knew what they're doing and keep everything in sync with escrow. And that's a big deal. Title is pretty easy. One day I'll get into title and escrow more. Basically, a company, they make sure your title is scored away, your house, your deeds and stuff like that are covered. At least, so if your title gets screwed with, usually it has to do with the deed, or it usually has to do with measurements of the property. Generally, I'd say more of that than anything else. A lot of times, the title company is only as good as their title plant and then their examiners. And so you're talking meets and bends, north, south, east, west on your property. A lot of times it has to do with property incursions, usually with title. So especially when you're doing commercial real estate, a lot of the stuff is already there, but sometimes it can happen in multifamily stuff. And so the titles are very big on that. I knew that he's one of the better real estate attorneys in the state. Anyways, South Center Mall, it's called Westfield Mall, but it's considered one of the biggest malls west of the Mississippi. And he was the lawyer when West bought it. They're from Australia, big giant internet operation. But the title on it went up about 8 feet high. There was so much stuff that he had to go through. It took like him and his partner and a couple of paralegals like 4 or 5 months ago through. So big because there are so many different aspects of the title, and he had good to go. This guy's a scored away attorney. I mean, he knows inside and out. He's got a real tight shot group. Anyways, so I remember he was talking about it one time when he was teaching a class that I took a long time ago, but it was still pretty interesting. He was talking about it, but that's what happens, especially when you're doing commercial. The top can get pretty thick. Residential, not as much, but even if you have residential, you have lots already incurred on it. In other words, they're already been divided up, but it's just one parcel. and you want to subdivide it up those lots, which a lot of people should be doing that, especially real estate agents or investors. If you look at something you can look at, that's something you look. Even with the partner, look at that too. If the lot's big enough and it's a really big lot, depending on the size, you may be able to buy that lot and sell it off. And that's a good way to do it. Or you subdivide the lot off and use that as your down payment. And you go turn around and you go ahead and build an apartment building. And people do that. There are times when you can do that, just depending on the size of apartment building and the land. So it's something to look at. These are just other angles to look at it. But as overall multifamily, I was looking at this for one company. It's gone up, and it'll go up again this year, a couple more points. There's a lot of money out there. People are looking at it. And I kind of credit like Grant Cardone. I like about his stuff together, but guys like him, because he's been hitting the multifamily stuff for so long, he's doing it for 35 years or 30 years. Multifamily, he's got $4.5 billion worth. That's why he's a billionaire. He's driving, and he's flying Extreme 650. I think it's rad. But guys like him, Sam Zell, there's some other companies that are out there that are doing some stuff. I can't remember the names. But they're getting out the mainstream, so a lot more people are looking at it. So I think it's a pretty cool thing. A lot of companies out there are building more family stuff. So I don't think there'll be too much of an overbuild like they did in Seattle. Seattle had an overbuild. Now all that stuff is pretty much, a lot of it's been going up and down. And a lot of it is the way it is. So a lot of it's gone up, but then a lot of people have been moving out. So it's been dropping. So it's been up and down like a roller coaster. Same thing in Portland, Sacramento, the Bay Area, all the way down. Central California, bad. Central California, if you live in California, I'd be going to Fresno, Bakersfield area. And in some of the surrounding areas, I'd be looking for an apartment building to buy down there because the cap rates are still pretty good. But still, you can still get a good deal. And you can run it out. A lot of them will run it out 100%. So, but the deals are better. Southern California, it's just a mixed bag. When you go to Riverside, Ventura County, I'd go up there. St. Louis County, away from the water and go inland is good. County is great if you go inland. Orange County, not so good. Orange County's a high price like West Los Angeles, just the way it is. You got to pay to play kind of thing. And that's just kind of the way it goes. The Southwest right now, it's a very, a lot of people are buying in Nevada and they're buying in Arizona. New Mexico is pretty good in some areas. A lot of it depends. There's a lot of military in certain parts, so a lot of people just things for you to think about and look at. Anyways, so if you guys got any questions about finance or real estate in general, anything, whether you're an investor, buyer, seller, real estate agent, or mortgage broker, don't be afraid to email me. Go to nickforecast.com. It's on the bottom there, or go to Facebook at nickforecast and just get a hold of me and I'll help you out. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel, pass it along, and see you next time.